Welcome to They Mostly Potted at Night. Mostly, I am Salem, joined by my co-host Graveyard.
Hello.
This is episode 75 of our weekly All Things Horror podcast. Whether you are a corrupt mayor, a lonely security guard, or just gaslighting your dad's girlfriend, everyone wants something nice for Christmas. Tonight, though, we went looking for something to enter into the white elephant drawing as we collect one-offs in the horror Christmas world. So this week we are doing P2, The Lodge, and It's a Wonderful Knife. Now, I believe It's a Wonderful Knife just came out.
It did just come out, yeah.
It came out this year. I would warn you of spoilers, but I can't recommend the movie to watch, so I don't care if you're spoiled. How about that? I don't care.
That's perfectly fair. That was,
but yeah, that one just come out this year. It's a Christmas movie. It came out this year. I'm pretty sure it was really recent.
it just came out last week.
Yeah. So, on Shudder, I think it's a Shudder exclusive, right? Yeah, I think I watched it on Shudder.
I mean, it's not too bad for us though. We're getting one last new movie in for the year.
Yay!
Something to add to your yearly recap in the worst case.
right. But yeah, these are essentially they're Christmas movies, but they have no connections to any other movies. They don't have no sequels, no nothing else even tangentially connecting to them. And that's it. And the fun fact, two of them have Elvis connections.
Yes.
but we'll get into that. That's about the only connections between them. Is that, and that's a stretch. But we'll get to that when we get to it. So first off, we have P2. What year did this come out in?
2007.
What year did American Beauty come out?
Like 99, 2000.
Okay, all right. I was gonna say I know it came out before, but I wasn't sure how much before. But
yes, I know why you asked. I just know him from American Horror Stories.
I only know him from American Beauty because I never watched American Horror Stories, so that's the only thing. Anyway. But yeah, I'll jump into P2 unless you have anything you want to preface this with.
No.
Right.
This is the first time watching it, so.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
for me,
I've got one up on you. I have seen this before.
Oh wow, lucky you.
Oh yeah, it's a fantastic film. Okay, so P2, we start off with a kind of like a workaholic lady, right?
Yep.
Working late on Christmas Eve. Everybody else kind of like filters out, and she gets stuck by the big boss doing some kind of giant proposal late at night on Christmas Eve, so she stays later than everybody else. She's, in contact with her sister, that she's supposed to go over there for Christmas. She's got a bunch of like stuff for the gathering in her car, and she's like trying desperately to get there, and she just keeps getting kind of held up. Anyway, so she finally finishes everything up, and she goes down to the parking garage her car is parked on. You guessed it, P2.
Yeah.
So she goes to start her car. Of course her car does not start. So she goes to go back in the building, and the doors are locked. She can't get back in. So she goes and finds security, and then she finds the guy. This is why I mentioned American Beauty. The guy that liked to watch the bag fly around in American Beauty, the guy that was filming everything, he is the security guard in the building. Everybody else has left. It's essentially like her and him are the only people left in this, giant skyscraper in the city.
And Carl.
Well, yeah, Carl was the security guard that walked her down, but I think he said he was leaving too, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever. So she is kind of like assuming that they're the only two people left. Anyway, so she gets him to come and open up the door. She, gets the door open, goes up there, calls a cab. She kind of like takes a little nap, whatever. The cab comes. She can't get out the front door. The front doors are locked.
Yes.
I don't know why she would not have checked this earlier. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. But
trust me, we'll get into the intricacies of this building.
She can't open the door. The cab driver can clearly see her.
Yes.
unable to open the door. So she's like, shaking the door, trying to get it open, can't get it open. So she goes back into the parking garage and tries to go out the parking garage exit, which has its gate down, so she can't get out that way either.
Yes.
She calls the little, buzz thing, and it's the same security guy again, who says, yeah, I can't open it. So she goes back down and is like, hey, I can't get it, the door open, whatever, but she can't find him. He's not there this time. So she's like, whatever. So she goes back to, then at this point, I think that the power goes out, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And everything gets dark. And then she's like wandering around, like trying to find her way back to her car. And then she gets, accosted and chloroformed. And she wakes up in the little security room, which had like Christmas lights and shit all over it. In different clothes. She's wearing like a nice, like, I don't know, kind of sort of lingerie-ish dress. I mean, I guess it's a dress. Yeah, it's a dress, but whatever. It's like,
yeah,
it's a Marilyn Monroe dress.
There you go.
The classic white Marilyn Monroe dress is essentially what she's wearing, with slightly more cleavage, I think.
Yeah.
So, as she comes to, she realizes she is handcuffed, or I should say leg cuffed, to the table.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks around, there's like, Christmas decorations or whatever, and the security guy is dressed as Santa and trying to like make Santa jokes, obviously not connecting. So, she kind of like comes out of it, he takes off the Santa suit, and we basically realize that at this point he is a crazy stalker slash
Tad.
Yeah. So he's essentially been obsessed with her for a long time, and he basically manufactured this opportunity to kidnap her and force her to have a nice Christmas meal with him.
And his dog.
And his dog, Rocky.
Yes.
Who's a giant Rottweiler.
Yeah, he is.
But yeah, it's not his fault. I've met nice Rottweilers.
Right.
Anyway. So, he is like oblivious to the fact that she's like, just wants to get the hell out of here and is terrified. And he's like, oh, I just want to show you a good time. What's your problem? Like, doesn't get it. Obviously not all there upstairs. So eventually it goes on, and she's trying to figure out what he wants so she can like kind of sort of like manipulate him into letting her go. And that doesn't quite work out, but he's like, oh, let's go for a little drive. And she's like, okay, thinking they're going to leave the building. And they don't. He instead drives her down to P3.
Immediately ruins the entire premise of the movie.
Now, we're no longer on P2. Now we're on P3. So we go down to P3, and the guy who had kind of molested her at the company Christmas party
is a little bit
there.
too much to drink.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he had too much to drink, and he was like trying to like hit on her, and sexually assault, fondling her in the elevator.
Yeah.
And she got away, and she didn't press charges. There's kind of a little mini scene where he comes in and apologizes, not excusing his activity at all, but kind of trying to show that he's like trying to save his own ass. I have a family, please don't ruin my life, kind of thing. Anyway,
right.
So we knew something had happened. Anyway, so he pulls up to this guy who is now duct taped to an office chair, which, I was going to save it till later, but I'm going to bring it up now. It's on wheels, man.
Yep.
How the hell was he sitting in the same spot the whole time? It's on wheels. I mean, I get that his feet were like duct taped to the struts of the chair, but you could wiggle around.
Maybe he was chloroformed too.
I guess. I don't know.
We'll get to him later.
Yeah. Anyway. So, so he goes down there and she's all like, what the hell is this? And he's like, oh, this is your present. So he goes to he gets like a pipe or something, and he goes to beat the hell out of the guy. And she's like, no, don't do that. Stop. And he's like, well, this is your present. You can't say no. This is your surprise. And she's like, still telling him no. And he just completely disregards what she says. And then,
well, because he wanted her to do it.
Right. But yeah, of course she's not.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
it. But then he beats the hell out of the guy with the pipe, but he's not dead. And then he gets in the car, and then she manages at this point to almost get out.
Right.
Like she's basically, got her, because her hands are still handcuffed, but she does kind of sort of get close to getting out. And then the guy, essentially, he like backs up and then smashes the guy against the wall.
A few times.
A few times with his car. And while he does that, she does manage to get the door open and then kind of like escapes.
Yes.
So he's like at this point trying to cover up the like he puts the body in a trunk, I think, but like the blood is all over the wall and stuff. So he like puts a bunch of pallets up in the wall to like hide it. But she has enough time at this point to get back up to, you guessed it, P2.
Yay, we're back.
In the office, she sneaks around Rocky, who is also tied to the table. And she manages to get like her phone and stuff. So she can try to call for help. So she, runs to like the gate to try to get a signal. She only gets a signal when she holds her hands outside of the gate. So she manages to call the police, but she drops the phone when she does.
Right. Remember, this is 2007 cell phones.
Yes.
So.
Right. Flip phones.
2 floors underground.
We will be discussing this. But yeah, so yeah, a flip phone that falls, but she thinks it connects. So she's like, starts screaming like, help me. I need help. And so then at that point, the guy's finally done with the pallets. He comes back up. And just when he's about to see her, she like slips around the corner. Right.
Yeah.
So he doesn't actually see her, but he does see the phone, I believe. So at this point he knows he has to like prepare or potentially prepare for something. Anyway. So when she was in the thing, she also grabbed his key cards so she can like get around now. So she basically goes back to the elevators and tries to go back up and down, whatever she's doing. But anyway, so he figures out what she's doing. So she basically emergency stops the elevator between 2 floors so that he can't get in. And while he's doing that, he figures out, hey, I got a way to get her out. So he essentially gets a fire hose from one of the upper floors, drops it down on top of the elevator, and then just starts filling the elevator with water. Carl, the previous security guard, at some point falls through the ceiling of the elevator. They kind of like, I don't know, they kind of like insinuate that he might not be dead.
Oh, he dead.
Well, I know, but like like everybody is like making sure he's rolled over and his face isn't in the water. You know what I mean? Like,
yes,
they're very careful with his body as if he's maybe not alive. I think there might be like a director's cut of this where he's somehow alive,
maybe,
or something. I don't know. It was just very weirdly how gingerly they treated him. But yeah, he doesn't do anything for the rest of this movie.
Yeah, that's
so. She realizes that the elevator is going to fill up with water. She will drown. So she, unstops the elevator, goes down to the floor, opens up, water gushes out. She comes out. Carl comes out. There's kind of like a little cat and mouse. She gets basically captured again.
Yep.
And at this point, the cops finally show up to come check out the emergency call that she made. He basically chloroforms her again and puts her in the trunk of her own car.
He stuns her with a stun gun twice.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know why stunning her when she's already stunned would keep her stunned longer, but
oh yes,
I guess we're using video game logic.
When you're unconscious, you know that you stun them again. That takes the time. It doubles the time essentially.
Well, like I said, we're using video game logic here. We're just stun them again to restart the stun timer.
Yes.
So he puts her in the trunk of the car. He like escorts the police around. They're like, we want to drive around. Like, okay. So there's kind of like a scene where they're like, oh, are they going to check out the pallets that are strangely stacked up against the wall? No, they get out of the car and shine the flashlight on it like they're going to look at it, but of course they don't actually do that. Right? And then they are they gonna, she manages to wake up and she gets out of the car and she's screaming for help. Is she gonna be able to get, are they gonna hear her calling for help before they leave Of course not. The cops leave.
Well, because he started playing music over the entire speakers in the parking garage.
Well, yeah, but I don't think it would have mattered.
Yeah.
Anyway, she was far enough on. I don't think they would have heard shit. But yeah, so the gate gets closed. She does not, catch the police. So yeah, we're back to square one. So
Yes.
at this point, he doesn't know where she is, but he's going to find her. So he lets Rocky go. And Rocky is going to go find her for him, right? Sniff her out.
Yes.
So she manages to go down to, I know we're going to be disappointed. She's back down to P3.
Yep.
And there's a rental car office on this level. So she's going to try to break into the rental office, but of course, Rocky catches up with her first. And she breaks a window on a car, gets into the back seat of the car. The dog jumps in after her, and she manages to kill the dog.
Yep.
With
Poor
something.
Fire iron.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was gonna say with I knew she had something. I don't remember what it was.
I mean, she does get bit though.
Yeah, she gets bit in the legs, to make sure that she has the final girl limp.
Yes.
So now she has the final girl limp from being bit in the leg, but Rocky is now dead in the backseat of the car. So she gets into the rental car office. She calls the police again. This time she's put on hold. And never actually gets to talk to the police. But, of course, she left a trail of blood and a big bloody handprint on the door to the rental office. Very obvious that she went in there. So, again, she kind of, cat and mouse again, right? Geez, what? I don't even remember what happens after that. Do you remember what happens after this?
Oh, she does get back into the office and she starts, she does go around knocking cameras out, which come into play, but yeah, she does see the videotape of him recording her while she's unconscious.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying. We'll get into that.
Yes. But that she does eventually get into a car and starts driving. So then we get cat and mouse in cars.
Right.
Yeah. So he starts chasing her through the parking garage.
Right. Yeah.
With she's in the car, they do hit. She's about to drive the car through the gate, but she gets sideswiped by him in the car. Then they have a chase scene through the parking garage, and then
they play
off with
chicken. Right.
Yes. Which I'll just say, I was expecting a tumbleweed to go across in front of them.
And then she somehow managed to flip over her car.
Yes, because she
in the parking garage.
Right, because he turns for chicken, and she hits the side of the car and just flips, and then somehow flips only once and lands right side up.
Right.
All the while trying to pick her locks.
Well, she managed. She has a magic pick, or what was it, like a hair file or something?
Something
was doing
like that. Yeah, or a letter opener, like the old letter openers.
Right. I'm blanking on the end. What the hell happened?
She feigns unconsciousness, and he goes to check her, and then stab right in the eye.
Okay.
And then she gets out. She is able to get while he's down with being stabbed. She is able to get the keys off of the handcuffs and handcuffs him to the car that is leaking gas, and then she takes her stun gun.
All right, now I remember. Yeah, and then she lights the classic trail of gas, and then blows up the car.
And then she walks out, wet, freezing, into Christmas Day, New York.
Right,
with police coming towards her.
Right next to the audio bookstore.
Yes.
Which I was like, I don't think that's a thing. I've never heard of an audio bookstore before.
And end the movie.
Yeah. But yeah, that was it. I was watching that very late. It was a late night, and I was drinking.
Yes.
Like now I remember, but yeah, I was blanking for a minute. Anyway, so we're here. So, this is really your first time watching this?
Somehow I missed this for 16 years.
Wow. I mean, I don't think I watched it when it came out, but I have no idea when I watched this movie, but I know I'd seen it a few years at least before now.
Well, I think my problem is this came out, Elevator came out, Devil came out within a short time frame here, and I just lumped them all together, and I go, because of Devil, I'm like, I'm not gonna watch P2.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I didn't bother with Elevator, I don't think.
No.
But yeah, I did watch Devil. Well, we already went over Devil.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if I watched it around that same time. It feels right though. It feels like I watched it around that same time.
Yeah. There's
I don't remember
stuff with like parking garages and elevators.
Yeah, I don't remember
late
why. I
2000s.
think it was just the name. Like the name, it's an interesting name.
Yeah.
And I watched it. I remember watching it going, "Oh, this is a Christmas movie." Like, I didn't no idea it was when I first watched it. Because I mean, yeah, P2 does not sound like a Christmas themed movie.
I mean, neither does ATM, but you know.
No, yeah, I guess so.
That's what we did last year.
That's correct. That was part of our white elephant last year.
It was our white elephant last year. Yes.
But yeah, so that's P2. But yeah, I don't remember what the first time I watched it, but I wasn't very impressed by it, as you can tell. I couldn't remember what happened even after the second time watching it. I mean, there are worse movies. Don't get me wrong, but it's a very forgettable film overall.
Yes, it definitely is a forgettable film. What's that? You know, I watched it with the wife. I'm like, I don't know what this is really going to be, and she had so many things to say too about like the stupidity of it, which we'll get into our low points.
Right.
Do you want to go first with my highlights?
Go for it.
I mean, yeah, there's obviously not a lot of people in this movie, right? But I think the acting was good. I think Wes Bentley played a good psycho, lonely, nice guy, you know.
Yeah, and that's the weird thing is that he was I reading about it because I was like, he was like an American Beauty, like he was in a lot of stuff and he was really good. What the hell happened to him? And I read about apparently he had a lot of drug, alcohol, and other related issues that he kept like falling in and out of, which is why he kind of disappeared for a while. I mean, he's like made comebacks
until
stuff,
American Horror Story started. Yeah, and he's like in almost every season.
Well, yes, but he's like, you know, again, he was in and out during this time period. That's why he wasn't. I mean, if he would have stayed sober, I think he would have been a much bigger name. But
right, and he was even in the first Hunger Games movie as the games master.
Okay, I don't.
Oh, I'm just saying. So, but no, I think that the acting on this was good. You know, do I? Yeah, we'll get into the low points of that. You know, is it viable for an entire floor to be a rent-a-car place? Yes. You know, and I think this is true, and I think this is true for the parking garage, especially in major cities. This, you know, being New York here, even though filmed in Toronto. You know, you and I have stayed in skyscrapers after hours, right?
Yep.
We know how empty they get fast.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Like, yeah, if you're there by yourself, it is a bit creepy.
No, it's absolutely creepy. And I think that part of it, yeah, I think the atmosphere, yeah, it's something, you know, people live by cities like we do. It's something you can relate to. And that fear, right? Oh, you know, parking garage closes at 10. What if I get there at 10:05? What happens?
Right.
You know, and I think that for the atmosphere, I think it played out perfectly for it. It was that claustrophobic, like completely underground parking garage,
right?
Which the city has tons of, and they are terrifying. They are narrow. They are claustrophobic. And I think for atmosphere, yeah, it nailed it.
Yeah. I think there should be more horror movies in parking garages.
Oh, absolutely, especially underground ones. Yeah,
yeah.
So underground ones are the most terrifying.
I agree.
There's no light. There's no sunlight.
Right.
Lights go out. You ain't seeing shit.
Yeah. Yeah. It could be. It doesn't matter. It's 12 noon. Doesn't matter.
Right.
It's pitch black.
Yeah, those are my highlights. What about you?
Yeah, I'll agree. I mean, yeah, like Wes Bentley again. He plays that creepy kind of unhinged character very well.
Mm-hmm.
And again, he would just like kind of hit or miss in this time period when he should have been like in everything. But he was very like, sometimes he'd be there and then he'd be gone for a couple of years. But again, it was, I just didn't really put two and two together, but I was reading about it. Yeah, apparently he had some issues. That's okay. But yeah, I did appreciate the Elvis sing along. I appreciated them not actually singing Elvis and just like lip syncing and then like pantomiming a performance. That was okay. I don't like when they sing like Patrick Wilson trying to sing songs. Like, you're ruining it. Please stop. So they didn't sing it. He just played the song and he lip synced it and acted it out, and that's okay. And they like cut to a picture of him in like Elvis outfit. Like, who knows if that was Halloween or if he really is an Elvis impersonator. Who knows?
Right.
But yeah, it was that was fun. But yeah, also like, how the hell do you flip a car in a parking garage? Like, that's talent.
Space. There's no space.
You have I mean, I had to put it as a high because that's just skill. I mean, you have to try really fucking hard, because how are you going to be able to go fast enough to be able to flip? Anyway, it was great. But yeah, like, I think, Wes Bentley plays that, the creepy, unhinged kind of like incel adjacent character that like,
oh yeah, like he immediately, he is the nice guy. You're like, oh, you should do everything for me because I'm the nice guy. And then she's this other, he just goes right into like the C word.
I'm the nice guy, but I'm going to start telling you I'm the nice guy as you're handcuffed to a table.
Right.
Like, obviously you've already canceled that out. Like, right. But it's bizarre that you can't see that. But which is like typical incel.
Right.
mindset.
And then she turns on him and he starts cussing at him like, oh, you little whore, and all that stuff. Like, that immediate turnaround, that snap too.
That's that's an incel thing. Like, if you're not all about them, then you're a whore to be insulted.
Right. I think he played that was characterization of him. Fantastic.
Yeah. No, I said he did great. That's I was very confused. He's not a bigger name than he is.
Yeah.
But I think that's it for high points. Do you want me to go into low points? Or
there's a few.
Yeah. Man, flip phones. God, flip phones sucked.
Yes.
I had a flip phone that, like, seriously, inside the house, I had to like hold it up in the corner of my room to get a signal. Like, they were just terrible phone.
Yeah.
And that was in like 2007 when they weren't even that old.
Yeah.
It's like, oh. Anyway, I hate flip phones. I'm glad they're gone. Now, okay. I don't know. I don't know if this is just a fear of mine or if this is a common fear. I have a huge fear of people fucking with me when I'm unconscious.
Okay. So to that point, I will say this right now. I did look up about Rocky in the doesthedogdie.com, and there's a bunch of triggers in this, and we'll discuss these a little bit in low points on my side, but that is one of the triggers. That is a trigger on doesthedogdie.com, is that exact thing.
Dude, I believe it because it freaks me the fuck out. Like,
yes.
There's a scene, and you ever see Strange Days?
Yes.
There's a scene in Strange Days where the guy's like wearing like that headset recording thing, and he's like going in and like fucking poking the guy when he's asleep and shit with a knife.
Yes.
That shit terrifies me. Or there's that one, what was it? It was a VHS where they had the people were like, they were staying in the hotel and they found a video they found a video on their own camera that was somebody fucking with poking with a knife when they were asleep.
Yeah, it was the wife's girlfriend.
Yeah, just terrifying. I mean, that fucking terrifies me, man. That's why I sleep so lightly, because I'm terrified of someone being around when I'm unconscious.
Right.
Anyway, that might be just me.
It is like I said, it is a trigger warning on even the website doesthedogdie.com.
But yeah, so one, not only does she wake up in completely different clothes, and that gives you all kinds of info. You understand what happens, but they don't have to say it. This happens in a lot of movies. They don't go into it. This movie actually goes that step further where he actually filmed it.
Yep.
And then she watched it later. Like him putting like makeup and shit on her and talking to her while she's unconscious. That's fucked up.
Yes.
And that is even more terrifying. Because I think it's bad enough knowing that somebody fucked with me when I'm asleep, but then watching a video of somebody fucking with me when I'm asleep, like, I'd need therapy.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was it there. And again, that audiobook store, I'm like, I don't know who is trying to sell that. Like, that doesn't exist, man. There's an audiobook section in a couple of different kinds of stores, but there's no such thing as an audiobook store. Never was, never will be.
Maybe they're trying Canada, where this is filmed.
Maybe they were trying to sell it at some point in time. I don't know. But yeah, like these magical handcuffs that were impossible to unlock until they needed to, and then they were boom, gone immediately. Like just fell off. Poor Rocky, of course.
Yep. He was a good boy.
Yeah, he was just doing what he was told. Now, I did read a funny thing. I was reading about this movie. The woman, I don't remember her name, the actress, she refused to do the movie unless there was a no nipples clause.
She got soaked. She would have.
That's the thing. She read the script and she was like, this is a like basically very thin white dress. Like if I'm supposed to be wet for half the film, then you're like, cause I guess the script called for no bra, no underwear. So she was like, basically, I'm going to be showing off my ass and nipples the entire movie being wet in a cold parking garage. And so she was like, no. So they had to write in a no nipples clause and she was allowed to wear underwear. So that's why the dress, you can't see her nipples, even though she's soaked, is because they had to like sew in like a special bra type thing into the dress so that you couldn't see her nipples because that was in the contract. Which is interesting.
It is. Any other low points?
Yeah, okay. The other thing that I had a big problem with is, okay, when she was in the trunk of the car, how would she know the police are there?
You'd have no idea.
Right. I was like, she's freaking out. Like, you were locked in a trunk. When the cops drove past you, you were still trying to get out. You had no idea they were there. Yeah. You were knocked out. You have no idea how long you've been knocked out. You have no idea if they even heard your original phone call. You wouldn't have any idea that they were actually there. But yet when she got out of that car, she was screaming after the police as if she knew they were there.
Yep. Which
was fucking stupid to me. There's a lot of other dumbass things, but none that I'm willing to like bring up. Other than that, there's a lot of stupid little things you'll find out there. I'm sure you've got more than me.
Yeah, is that all you got?
Yeah, go for it.
All right. As someone who has worked in skyscrapers in Chicago, 3 days closed with no one in the building does not happen.
No. Well, every major building has at least one person in the building. You might have to search for that person, but you won't find them. It's either like a janitor or cleaners. I mean, because those cleaners work at really crazy hours.
They do. And having someone that would have to work with them and do door codes and badges and all that shit for cleaning people in buildings like this. First and foremost, they left so much food and shit out from the Christmas party, knowing that there's going to be 3 days. No. If you have a Christmas party and you're going to have garbage, you have a cart that sits outside the building, outside the suite, and you put your garbage into it. So, for the fact that saying there's been three days of no people is complete and utter bullshit. It never happens. Because
yeah. I mean, I think they knew that three days wasn't going to happen. I think he deliberately made it so that he would have a night alone.
Okay. Number 2. I worked in a building like that in 2007. The lobby looked very similar. Okay. There is camera systems, not just in the parking garage, but in the building itself. And while, yes, you do turn off all the elevators except for one that can get to every floor. If you have multiple elevator sets, you'd have one elevator that the doors stay open to get through the floors in the building during holiday stuff and weekends. That absolutely is a true thing. Now, having a gate in an office building like that, I don't think is a thing with one entrance only.
Well, I mean, but again, you have all kinds of exits.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah, are they going to lock once you open the door? Yes. Are you going to be able to get back in that door? No. But, you can get out. You can always get out. Getting out is the easy part. Getting in is the hard part.
Yes. So you can get out of these buildings.
But even
time of the night.
Right, but even if there wasn't, there is an emergency door.
Yes.
Yeah, it might set off an alarm, but if you're fucking trapped in there,
doesn't matter.
Yeah, just if you need to get out, get out.
I've left these buildings at 4 a.m. on a Friday night.
Well, yeah, but parking garage, they always have a way out.
Yes,
because they know people might be in there late.
Yes,
getting in might be hard. Getting your car out might be hard, but getting yourself out will not be.
Correct. That is. I know the entire movie depends on this premise, but that doesn't happen now.
Yeah, I think that this needed a little bit more building to show that he deliberately did things to make it unable to be left. And to be fair, he probably did. We just didn't see any. But knowing that she didn't try to go to any of these emergency doors or anything, it's like, that's suspect.
Right. Like I said, even the wife who has been to my offices during Christmas parties, stuff like that, and she knows exactly what the lobby looks like. She goes, that would never happen. Like, you're correct.
Exactly.
Never happened.
Right. But even if you're at the big front door, there's always a door that'll open. Yeah. Again, you're definitely not going to be able to get back in that door, but it'll open.
Correct. Yeah. So I know, I know the movie depends on this, but I'm just like, I know these buildings, that doesn't work that way. Right. That was my biggest pet peeve of this movie. And let's face it, the cops,
okay, these are cops on Christmas Eve.
I know.
They just want to fucking go, seriously, sit in a fucking, donut shop parking lot and get drunk. That's all they really want to do. But
I don't disagree. However, when they show the outside, if this is New York City, I can tell you what it looks like in Chicago around this time of the year. There's people fucking everywhere.
I mean, downtown, there's not that many people.
Well, homeless people, unfortunately.
I mean, yeah, but I'm saying, if you look outside of a major skyscraper, there ain't nothing around. If you've ever driven, if you're outside of the downtown area, yeah, there's people around. But if you're in downtown, if you're in Chicago, so it'll be by the Willis Tower. Yeah, there ain't nobody there. It's totally empty. Black fucking streets. Nothing there.
Yeah. Yeah, and then, like I said, poor Rocky. He was just, yes, he bit her. I get that. But does he deserve a tire on the skull?
Well, no, I more feel bad for the way he was treated and trained.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like I said, other than that, it's, and I guess is Carl dead? Is Carl not dead? Scenes made zero sense.
Right. Again, I was just saying, it was very weird how they made sure he wasn't face down in the water, and it was they took very careful actions with him, and it was very strange to me.
Yeah,
I don't know. It just felt like there was more to it that they just left out or something.
Right.
Anyway, doesn't matter. Whatever.
Those are my low points. Like I said, I had to get the big one. Like I said, I'm I know us IT people have been getting to these places at all hours, so we're very knowledgeable of that.
Right. So for this week, we are doing Elves on the Shelves because it's that time of year, I suppose. So how many elves on shelves would you give P2?
And I am not past our 0 reset yet. So, I mean, and honestly, other than the month of Salem and what we're going to be watching the next 2 weeks, like I said, this movie isn't bad. There's a lot of good things for it that it does well. So for that, I will probably give this 7.5.
Oh, wow.
too high for you, too low for you?
Well, no, yeah, way higher than I would. Yeah, than I would say. Like I said, it's a very forgettable movie for me. Again, not bad, but not a movie I really care about watching again. So, I'll go down to we'll say six. Six elves on shelves out of 10.
Yeah, I mean, it has the potential to be a flagpole of a new genre of underground underground city horror movies.
I mean, yeah. Again, I mean, I think we had Us touch on that a little bit.
Yeah,
but they didn't do it in an urban area. I think
No.
if they did it in an urban area, it'd be a lot more interesting because it'd be a hell of a lot more people. But
yeah. This should be a whole new subgenre of horror movies.
well, they have Chud.
I know, but I mean, if you're in Chicago, you know the Pedway, right?
Yeah.
That goes from Millennium Station through the government building. That tunnel, that couple miles, terrifying as hell.
Well, yeah, but there's tons of shit underground, different buildings are connected to each other underground and shit. It's weird. It's fun exploring and finding this stuff, but it's not really labeled anywhere.
No.
You have to just
no
wander
idea where
and
you are.
Wander and figure it out. Where the hell am I? And you come up to the surface, you're like, how the fuck did I get over here?
Right. I think that needs to be a subgenre of horror movies. These things exist.
You have your niche. Let's do it.
Yeah. All right.
All right. So our next film is a fairly recent film.
2019?
Yeah. 2019 sounds about right. With The Lodge. Now, I will give us our Elvis connection here. Is in P2 there was a Elvis sing along song, and in this one, The Lodge, Riley Coe is Elvis's granddaughter. So, in one movie we have an Elvis lip syncing, and then in this movie we have an actual blood relative of Elvis. So there's our Elvis connection. Sorry, It's a Wonderful Knife does not have any Elvis connections that I know of.
Maybe we need to look hard enough.
Yeah, maybe there might be one somewhere, but
man, we could have made it a Blue Christmas.
right. So that's it. But that's the Lodge. I will let you take it away.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll say right now, this movie is definitely a slow burn. So I'm going to gloss over because it's nearly a 2-hour long movie.
I would have renamed this movie "Fuck Around and Find Out."
Yes. So essentially, we meet Alicia Silverstone, dropping off her kids to her. I don't think we know at this point. Estranged husband, let's say, or separated husband.
Man, does she come in with a bang?
Yeah. She drops off the kids. He's like, "Hey, we need to finalize the divorce. I'm getting married in September." She goes, "Oh, okay." Goes home, makes sure that everything's nice and tidy, pulls a gun, and bam, she's dead. She blows her head out.
Right.
Funeral, session. Kids are freaking out, crying. Obviously, they try to do, they do black balloons, and and it's, I don't know how much time they say is later. Did they say a time frame? I know it's. So, I mean, they're going up to a lodge a week before Christmas.
I think they say 6 months later.
Okay.
Is I think what we get. So, he originally said they were going to get married in September. So, that obviously was thrown out the window.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, now we're at December. So, this is 3 months after they were supposed to get married, and they're now talking Christmas plans.
Right. So, obviously, now the kids are with him. They're researching who this woman is that their dad's saying, because he's writing a book about cults. And she was a subject of his book, and that's how they met. And now they're investigating her past, saying that, she was essentially the lone survivor, 12-year-old girl of, let's call it Heaven's Gate.
Yeah. Yes. Very similar to Heaven's Gate, for sure.
Almost Heaven's Gate. A couple things different.
Well, I mean, yeah, very similar, because Heaven's Gate did leave a person behind.
Yes.
To tell their story. Yeah. So very, very similar.
Yeah. So they're learning all the stuff. She was I think her dad was, the leader of the cults. He was very, let's go crazy at this point in time.
Well, yeah, it was, big repent. We're all sinners. Blah blah blah. Mass suicide, and she was. I guess we should preface this. She was 12 when this happened.
Right. So anyway, they're like, hey, we're going to, she really wants to meet. So the kids have yet to meet this woman. And like, hey, we're going to go into our lodge that is like 7-hour drive north, essentially, because they go from not winter to winter. And he's like, hey, I'm going to drop you off. Then I got to go back to work. And I'll be home on the 25th.
Right. Right? I was just very confused about this whole situation.
We all know that writers have to be at a location to write a book.
Well, I'm just saying, well, whatever. Even if he's got a business, like a corporate job, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Yeah. But like, if you have your two children who, let's say they're like, what? 12, 13 and like, I don't know, 9.
Sure.
Right. That's about, I think, what their ages were. And you're going to like, I understand he trusts the woman, right? Because like he's going to marry her, obviously that's her partner, but they don't know her.
Right. At all.
And you're right. And you're going to drop her off with them for like days at a time. Like, I get that. Yeah. They're going to have to like learn to like get along with her because she's going to be part of their life. I get that. But like, I don't think that should be like a first meeting.
Hey, you don't know each other, and here, stay a week.
Right. Her. Well, okay. Stay a week with her somewhere where you can't leave.
Yes.
Right? Like, they don't have a car to go anywhere.
Correct.
Like, that's weird to me. I don't know. Whatever.
We'll get to that.
I was just very uneasy about this whole situation.
Yeah. So kind of, anyway, he drops them off, and they're like, hey, she's a terrible cook, so you just fend for yourself. So now they have to have like a week's worth of food there because, well, he's gone for a week. They have no way to get food or any supplies of any sort. She brings her, she has her dog with her, and the kids just kind of going through normal stuff. And she's creeped out by all the Christian paraphernalia that exists in this lodge. She kind of takes it down. She takes a shower. The boy starts watching. She's like, we got to talk. He's like, no, I don't want to talk to you. Okay. They are, a scene before the dad leaves, they're kind of on the ice, and, the doll happens to go into this fishing hole, and, she falls into, she gets warmed up, all this stuff. So setting up all this stuff, like, hey, that's our mom's hat. You can't be wearing that. That's our mom's. She's like, oh, I didn't know. And she, the girlfriend is really trying her best. I will say.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. She is doing she's like bending over backwards to try to like, she's understanding of the situation.
Yeah.
But she's also trying to like say, hey, like, I'm really close with your dad. We're going to be living together. We should be close too. Like, hey, like, give me a chance. Like, I'm giving you multiple chances. Like, okay, like you said earlier, like the boy, again, 13, right? Hormonal. Yeah, he was like peeping on her when she was in the shower.
Yeah.
Now, instead of her like reacting and going, what the fuck are you doing? She like just kind of let it go.
Yeah.
And she didn't even bring it up until he was being a dick. At that conversation, he was like, why would I ever want to talk to you? Like that kind of attitude. And she was like,
oh, but it's okay for you to look at me while I'm showering.
Yeah. Oh, you don't want to talk to me, but you're going to peep on me in the shower. Right. It was kind of like again, but she was, even then she was like, why would I want to talk to you? And she's like, cause we're stuck in this house together. No, wait, hold on. I don't mean stuck. She's like, she goes out of her way to like, make sure she's being open and like, compliant with these kids.
And she even gets presents for them for Christmas.
Right.
Like, she doesn't have to.
Right. She's trying hard, and they're just being, and again, I understand. They're children of divorce / even worse, right?
Yeah.
So like I understand their hesitancy, but like again, I see where they're coming from. Like, hey, we're going to get married. You're gonna have to get used to this person, right? We're gonna be together as a family. We're all gonna live together. You got to get used to it, whether if you like it or not.
Yeah. She goes above and beyond.
For
far as
we'll go into more of this later. Sorry.
So anyway, so the dad leaves and they start going stuff, and stuff kind of starts disappearing. Like her dog just kind of disappears, and it's a white dog in I don't know what knee-high snow.
Right.
And just disappears. They're watching a fantastic movie as the three of them.
Jack Frost.
And Jack Frost, yes.
The
Thing, and then Jack Frost. Not the good
Jack
not
Frost.
The horror.
I don't think there is a good Jack Frost, but
there's not.
Yeah, the Michael Keaton snowman one. Yes, that's what we're talking.
They bring in a gas heater because that's foreshadowing a bit, and they make her hot chocolate, and she says, "Okay, cool." Clearly drugged.
But at that point, the kid was finally like, acknowledging her presence. So she was like, "Oh wow, finally some form of connection." Yeah, she's not going to second guess it.
No,
I mean, even though she should have.
Right, and then she has nightmares that she's trapped under the ice and getting dragged down by her father. So she clearly has PTSD from being in there.
Again, we stressed earlier, she was fucking 12 when she witnessed her father and everyone she knew killed themselves. And they let her film it all, and then be the survivor that's supposed to tell the world about it.
Right, and the kids know that she did this because they watched the video on their computer.
Right.
Okay. So, anyways, more stuff starts happening. Their food disappears. Their coats disappear. Her pills disappear, most importantly.
Yeah.
And then they're just she's trying to, say, I have to go into town or try to find a way. She tries. She finds basically an empty building, makes her way back, and finds in memory of, look, it says we're all dead in 2019. It's like, what's going on there? And so there's more stuff happening where she keeps hearing from somewhere, repent, and she sees messages in the window saying repent, from showering and stuff like that. They lose heat, they lose electricity because everything's just broken. And long story short, they kind of start to this point where they think they're in purgatory because they're seeing all the stuff that maybe they're dead. The boy is, hanging, and he's like, "Oh, I'm still alive. I can't die. See, we're in purgatory." So she starts eventually breaking down and freaking out because she's hearing her dad's voice and all this stuff. And, she starts repenting. She, kneels in a circle around the snow and eventually finds her dog, brings it in there. She sits on the front step for 8 hours, maybe.
Yeah, this is a very long time. Yeah, long enough for her to have severe frostbite injury on her nose and her cheeks and her fingers. Yeah.
And, they're seeing all the stuff that they're all dead. And she's like, hearing that the girl's talking to the phone. No, she's not. Their phone's dead. Eventually we find out that the kids, they were gaslighting her. Hands down.
Yeah.
Gaslighting her, making her crazy. And then they realize oh shit, we fucked up. We shouldn't have gone this far. Here, look for this. It's okay. We have all the stuff. Couldn't get the generator started because they, flipped something so it wouldn't start. And they can't get a hold of their dad. The dad comes back to the regular house and sees, let's say, the hereditary version of the lodge, where it's scenes being enacted through the dollhouse that is the shape of their lodge. The kid hanging there, people all asleep, and all that stuff. And she, she's full on gone at this point in time. She's like, you know what? You're right. We are in purgatory. We have to repent. She's kneeling on hot embers from fire or hot logs. And, eventually she's like, hey, and she gets the gun, we have to do this. Dad comes back to the lodge just in time. She's like, see, I can't die. She puts the gun to her head and pulls the trigger and click. See, can't die. He tries to take it away. She ends up shooting him dead. And then she stages them at the table and starts preparing kind of their last meal and setting them up to have the sin taped over her mouth, which is the same thing that was on the Heaven's Gate cult. And she has finger on the gun, and, well, fade to black. We don't know. Live or not.
Well, okay, yeah.
Heavily implied.
Yeah, she puts her hands on their shoulders, and then they zoom in on the gun, which is loaded. So,
yes. Yeah, I don't think I missed anything crucial.
No, you're good.
I know we were discussing this movie when it came out.
Yeah.
It was one of those things that, during one of our probably one of our D&D nights, so we talked to a couple people like, we should watch this. I liked it then. I like it on the rewatch too. I think this is only my second time watching it was for this.
Yeah, that's the same.
But I'm like, wow, this has a lot of PTSD stuff. It has a lot of gaslighting. And I'm gonna say it right now, the kids are fucking assholes.
Yeah. We're
the least.
I'm gonna discuss that. I'm sure you are as well.
And I'm like, why does the girl look familiar? I'm like, holy shit, that's Sprite from Eternals.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh.
2 years before Eternals.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
She aged a lot in 2 years. Well, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess kids do that.
Right. So she was like 14 in this movie. She looked 9.
Well, yeah. To say the character was 9. I don't know how old she was.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm just like, and anyone who listens to this know we like bad endings, and this is like a bad ending.
Well, yeah, it's a bad and incomplete ending,
yes.
But not as bad as some other incomplete endings.
Correct, but I sat through their credits in case I heard I don't even recall if I listened to it the first time to see if you'd ever hear gunshots like after the scene faded and you'd hear it later on. I did not.
Oh,
that would have been That would have been an interesting thing to put in the audio after the screen goes black, right?
Yeah, these days I always just leave the credits on. I usually do something else, but I let it go because so many movies have weird shit at the end.
And like I said, I was expecting to hear gunshots. I think it should have. I think it should have.
Well, I
think it should have.
They can leave it open. It's an artistic choice. Do whatever you want.
So what was your first thought on this and the rewatch?
I think I was like, is that Alicia Silverstone? Because at that time I hadn't seen her in anything in a long time.
Correct.
And then she exits quick. But yeah, she does. I mean, she's only in it for like I don't know what 5 minutes. But she really sells that 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But yeah,
oh, yeah.
it's like it's rough. It's like the typical horror movie. Let's have a famous person in it, and you assume they're going to be like a major character, and then they die right away.
Yep.
That's essentially what that is. Only this is I think we could safely put this in like the elevated horror category, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So it's like it's the elevated version of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's the only thing I can remember, like, the first time watching this. But yeah, otherwise, it's like, yeah. Again, like I said, it should be renamed to Fuck Around and Find Out because they fucked around and they found out. And that's why you don't do shit like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just go into my highlights. Like I said, like, it takes the claustrophobic of, say, The Shining, right? Desolate winter lodge, trapped, and weird shit starts happening, right? So I mean, yeah, it is there are people that purposely go out and do this shit in the middle of winter. They go put themselves away from civilization, right? Would I want to do that? No.
It's fine with me. I mean, again, as long as you're talking, you got electricity and you got a fireplace, like that's fun. That's fine with me. Like you got supplies, you got a generator, and you got wood for the fire. Like that, yeah, I'm down.
No car, no.
I'm okay with that as long as I got supplies.
But the atmosphere was great. I think the slow burn was really good because, I mean, yes, if on the rewatch you did see more subtle clues for things.
Right.
I think this time around on the rewatch, now that you knew that the kids or gaslighting the entire time. So
Right.
I think the first time was more intriguing. Like, are they dead?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
First time it was like you don't know. But
Right.
this time knowing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it still does really well with it though. Now you're able to see all the foreshadowing that happens. Like everything was planned. And I think, we discussed kid actors a lot. I think everything was acted really well. I think the atmosphere was fantastic as well.
Yeah, and again, that's what, like I said, you can find good child actors.
Yes.
You can. They have to be, directed in certain ways. They have to be, but again, you can find them. They're perfectly serviceable, sometimes even great actors.
Mm-hmm.
It's just so many people don't fucking bother, and they just stick any fucking kid in there. And again, kids that act like shit ruin movies.
Yes.
And ruin TV shows. And like, again, they stick with this stuff. It's like, oh, well, we like to keep with, tradition. And then, at the beginning of the, like, season 1 of this show, we had the newborn baby as this actor, right?
Yeah.
So now 6 years later, oh, we'll bring the same actor in because it's the same baby, but it's older. It's like, but they're not an actor.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, why would you do that? Like, what's the fucking point? Like, just because you're trying to keep continuity, nobody gives a shit if it's the same kid as the baby.
No one gives a crap.
Right. It's like, I would rather have a good performance than the same fucking thing. Like, you can't even tell the difference anyway.
Right. Like I said, and I think it was, like I said, and the bad ending. We do like bad endings, and this is like, you did not feel sorry for those kids.
No, not at all. They fucking deserved it.
Yeah. And that's great because we don't generally have kids on that side of it. We're like, God damn these kids, right? Like,
yeah.
Fuck these kids. And we are in this movie like, fuck these kids.
Exactly. Like, I mean, yeah, ultimately, I felt worse for Grace out of everybody.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah, like,
absolutely.
Fuck them kids. I don't feel bad for them at all.
Yeah, because like I said, Grace went above and beyond.
Right.
So those are my highlights. What about you?
Highlights again, yeah, Alicia Silverstone. I mean, again, for only being in it for a couple minutes, she like really, really like, blows you away.
Yeah.
I really like the kind of like intercut, especially at the beginnings of like the whole dolls in the dollhouse, kind of like showing the bits and pieces of like what's happening in their lives, kind of like through little still lifes of the dolls. I thought that was cool. The atmosphere that they built in that cabin, like you were talking about, the isolation and and then just kind of like the overall feeling of what's going on there. I thought they did a great job with that. I will also say that the sound was great as well. The sound and the score, like, when she's like kind of descending into like, losing it, like you get that kind of like scratchy violin music, which really kind of sells that things are going nuts.
It wasn't harmonic. It wasn't smooth. It was jagged.
Right. Yeah. It's like you're kind of like, following that downward spiral, which I thought they did really well.
Yeah.
Again, I thought Riley Coe did a fantastic job. I mean, again, acting is great all around, but I thought that Riley Coe did a fantastic job, especially. And I did like, of course, The Thing, and less so of Jack Frost, but it was the better Jack Frost. So,
well, I don't know about that.
Well, again, I hate that movie too, but you know what? Jack Frost is so low. Any other Jack Frost is going to be above that. Okay. You want me to go into low points?
Yeah, go on your low points.
Holy shit, that poor dog.
I know.
That poor dog. Like, okay, he was like, immediately when he came in the front door, like, oh, I set up your dog bed, in the hall. Like, the dog needs to stay over there. We're going to stay upstairs, but the dog's going to stay in the hall. Like, he made a point to come out and say that. And the poor dog was, like, stuck in that bed the whole time. Like, it never moved. It was, like, not allowed in the rest of the house. It had to stay in the bed the whole time. And then, like, what the hell were those kids thinking? Like, what did they do with the dog? What did they think they were going to do? Like, what, are you going to hold the dog in a basement? You know what I mean? Like, what are you going to do with it? Like, of course it's going to freeze to death if you leave it outside, you bunch of idiots.
Right.
And that's, again, just, I'll roll right into that. These kids suck.
Yes.
Like, okay, these kids, again, I mean, more on the boy than the girl, but still both of them, they planned this whole shit out before they even went there.
Yes.
Right? Like, they had the whole thing sorted out because, you know, her dollhouse is essentially kind of like a copy of their lake house.
Yeah.
And they, like, planned out their whole fucking thing and how they were going to fuck with her. Again, yeah, pulling a prank on somebody that you know is one thing. Pulling a prank on somebody that you don't know is another thing. But pulling, like, this cruel of a prank on someone you don't know, but you're going to be stuck with for a long time. Like, again, what was your best end game scenario here?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like, they had one.
Right. Like, okay, the best case scenario here is, in their mind, like, oh, she believes this, and then the dad comes home, and then what? She's like, what, frightened
Crazy?
into submission, and she'll never talk to you again? Like, what do you think is going to happen here?
Right.
You know what I mean? I was just, like, blown away. Like, what are you what are you planning on doing? But, like, you're literally putting someone who went through, like, such a severe fucking trauma, and you're literally playing the video of, like, her parent, or, you know, her dad giving his final speech before they all committed suicide. Like, what do you think is going to happen?
Right.
I mean, just, again, I said, like, he's literally a junior serial killer. Like, this level of manipulation, this level of cruelty is only for, like, a sociopath.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I mean, this is just fucked up. And, you know, and then, like, again, he has clue after clue after clue that shit is going off the fucking rails. You need to pull the plug on this now.
Yeah.
Like, it is getting bad. Why he didn't pull the plug earlier than that, I have no idea. Other than he was, like, being arrogant, like, no, my plan will work. My plan will work. Like, what is the end game of this plan? What are you thinking is going to be the result here? Like, what is the good result? You know, like, I've been, I understand, you know, being the child of divorce, right? And you don't like that new person coming in. So you want to, like, play tricks on him and shit like that. Like, yeah, I was there. I did that. I mean, I understand that. But, like, there's a difference between fucking with people and then, like, literally,
killing
like,
a dog.
torturing. Yeah. Like, the dog was dead. They knew that dog was dead, and they still didn't pull the plug.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They knew that she was, like, unhinged, losing her mind, and they continually refused to pull the plug. Like,
Yeah.
she was out in the wilderness trying to find help and safety for hours, and they didn't pull the fucking plug. Like, these kids are fucked up.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, again, and then at the end when it happens, like, she fucking gets broken. And then, yeah, fucking kills all of them. I don't feel bad for them at all. You fucking deserve it. You know, I think the person I feel the worst for is her.
Yeah.
Because she was fucked with so much. And then I goes the dad, who is this trying to, like, make this new dynamic work. And then he ends up getting killed because of it. But yeah, fuck him.
Right.
Hey, what do you got?
Yeah, the kids are fucking assholes. Like that. I agree. I completely agree about your assessment of the kids. I didn't deal with divorce growing up. But I'm like, I would, the way she was, like, you think you'd blame the dad more than her? Because the mom has to have said that, you know, the dad found this other woman while doing this research.
Well, again,
I don't think it's her fault.
Oh, it's not, no, not at all. It's again, you know, when you're in the divorce thing, it's like he's got a new woman in his life. He is being so careful about introducing this woman to his life that his kids haven't even met her yet.
Yeah.
I highly doubt that she's met her. She probably knows of her. But as we saw, like, when she came over to the house, like, she was there and she purposely, like, went and hid.
Right.
Like, she wasn't allowed to be in contact with her. So, like, she barely, like, if she knew her at all, she didn't know anything. I think the only thing she knew is that he met her through his book.
Right.
And so then she told her kids, oh, she's a psychopath because he met her as one of his cult people.
Yes.
And of course she was spreading that bullshit with the kids. And then that's all the kids believe because they don't know her. Well, yeah, again, it's that toxic bullshit. It's, you know, the two sides fighting against each other because they're at war. It sucks.
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't have to deal with it, but yeah, it's bullshit and it sucks, and the kids get involved, and yeah, it's bad news for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, the poor dog. The dog did nothing wrong.
Right. I felt bad for the dog when it was still like in its like just being in the house. I felt bad for it because it was like not allowed to leave the bed. Like it was always in that bed.
Right.
I just felt bad for it, like because it's not even in the TV room. It's like in the hall by the front door, and like nobody was interacting with the poor dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they lost it outside, and instead of pulling the plug, going like, "Hey, the dog's gone." No, let the dog die. This plan needs to move on.
Right. As
You're
you said,
messed
they
up.
had no end game.
Right, like you guys are messed up.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, it's the kids are awful, and the dad leaving for a week. That scenario was just wrong in all ways.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, again, if somebody that at least you know, I mean, you don't have to know them well, but at least you know them. That's one
Right.
thing. But like, yeah, if it goes bad, like you have no out. There's no like, plug to pull. You're stuck.
Right. And I don't know why he needs to, first and foremost, be there for a week before Christmas. If he's able to make it there on Christmas, what job does a writer have where he needs to be gone?
But okay, in that situation,
and can't write.
Right. When would you be okay not talking to your fiance for 3 days?
Right.
You're like, again, you're talking to the girl because, we found out later on that her phone still worked and she was talking to her dad. And that's one thing. Sure, I get it. But like, he would want to talk to her directly. There's no way. And 3 days is too much time.
Yeah. And for after a day of no messages or phone calls or check-ins, like, I'd be like, something's wrong.
Well, and that's why he finally came, because that was the first day that he didn't even hear from the daughter.
Yeah.
So I get why he went out there, but like, again, I think the alarm bell should have been ringing earlier than that.
Yes.
Because I'm sure, in the modern day, you'd be fucking texting the whole fucking time. There's no way you wouldn't be.
Oh, absolutely. Especially leaving them in that situation, you're going to be listening to all the parties involved.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Check in the morning, check in the evening. He's not working 24 hours.
Right, exactly.
So, those are my low points. Why don't you go first for your number of elves on the shelf?
Elves on the Shelf this week, again, it is very, very well made. It is like I said, it's a slow burn and it's kind of dark and kind of depressing.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't watch it often, but it is a good movie. So I will give it it'll get 8. 8 elves. 8 elves on the shelves out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I mean, as you said, this is a fantastic movie for what it is, it being around Christmas, right? It is a Christmas movie, horror movie, and it's not supernatural. It's not like out there, it's not like just absolute crazy and bonkers.
Well, I mean, the first time you watch it, you may think, part of it is, but on rewatches, obviously it's not.
And it's just like that claustrophobic snow feeling that you can see people going crazy, especially in that situation. I said I really like this. I will give this 8.75 because we've watched some really long horror movies that are seemingly slow burns are just atrocious.
Yeah, correct.
And this doesn't feel like it's that long. It doesn't feel like an hour 50.
No, it does. It does not. Like I said, the build up, the atmosphere, everything is a great overall. Yes. Like a complete package is great. Yeah.
That's all I got for this one.
And then we move on to It's a Wonderful Knife, which is the Shudder movie that came out for this Christmas. I guess the only people that I know of in this movie are Joel McHale and Justin Long.
The main girl, she was the Christian girl from Yellow Jackets that died on the plane.
Okay. All right. I know that she was from Yellow Jackets, but I could not place her. Like, I saw that in the credits. I'm like,
she was Laura Lee.
I was like, I don't know who she was. Yeah, that's the one that. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I got it. I know the aunt. The aunt I know from somewhere, but I don't know where.
She was in Ginger Snaps. She was in Freddy vs. Jason. She was in Supernatural. She was in a bunch of horror movies.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I know her. I've seen her many times before. And her
girlfriend with the birthmark on her face was in the new movie Influencer as well.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, so the aunt's very familiar as well.
Yeah, well, the one aunt, I did. Anyway, so It's a Wonderful Knife. So essentially, we are given kind of a retelling of It's a Wonderful Life, but in the kind of lens through I don't want to say like a kids version of a horror movie. Almost. There's blood, yes, but like it really feels like a kids movie almost at certain points. Anyway, so we have Winnie, who is her dad is Joel McHale, and her brother is like the quarterback of the football team, right?
Yes.
So Christmas they have like a friends party. I guess it kind of prefaced this to be like Justin Long plays like the mayor of the town, who is trying to like build this new big, I don't know, casino looking thing. I don't know what it is. Anyway, but there's one person that's the holdout that has the land that he needs to build his casino, and he was like the old school like mayor, whatever it is. And he's like he doesn't like
the cigarette smoking man from X.
Right, yeah. So he's like, I don't like you. Like you're bringing this town in the wrong direction, so I'm definitely not selling to you. And he's like, okay, great. So Joel McHale is like, the mayor is like second in command kind of guy.
Yes.
They own a realty company, but he's also the mayor. And Joel McHale is like his second in command, is also the dad of Winnie. So as they go through that, like he's not going to sign, he's not going to sell. And they're like, oh, that's too bad. And they leave. And then Moon Knight comes in and essentially murders the old man. And then Moon Knight then goes to the kids' party and then murders his granddaughter, who is best friends with Winnie.
Yes.
Murders her, then I think murders somebody else, right? Some other
few people.
Yeah, murders a couple random people.
A couple of jocks.
And then also tries to kill her brother, the quarterback, Jimmy.
Right.
But she manages to stop him. She like hooks him up to like a car battery or something, and like cooks him essentially. Yes. And then you take off Moon Knight's mask, and it's Justin Long. Right.
It wasn't for your meddling kids.
Yeah, so it was Justin.
Scooby Doo unmasked. Yes.
Right. Yeah, so it was Justin Long the whole time. So he basically, yeah. So he got stopped. So he murdered the grandpa. Trying to take over the town. He thought that killing him and then killing the granddaughter would give him the land so that then he could do whatever he wanted. So he was stopped.
Because he was told that the granddaughter was going to inherit the house.
Right.
So, kill her too.
Fast forward 1 year. So the realty company got handed down to her dad. So Winnie's dad, Joel McHale. So Joel McHale and her quarterback brother, Jimmy, are like now partners in this realty company, and they're, super happy and whatever. So for Christmas, like he gets a brand new truck and she gets like this, workout suit in pink, which does not suit her at all. She's not happy with that. So like all her friends, kind of suck, like her boyfriend's cheating on her. Basically she gets to the point where she feels like, what's the point? Right. Like, why do I even exist? I wish I didn't exist. Right. Classic. It's a Wonderful Life thing. She makes that wish to like the Aurora Borealis, and it comes true. So, she gets transported to a world where she does not exist. So of course the murders happen and nobody was there to stop Moon Knight. So her brother died. So she goes to like her house to like check in, and her dad's has like lost his mind. Her mom is like just drunk and just boning random dudes.
Yep.
And her aunt is there. She lost her wife, so she's like also like there and like depressed, but watching the mom bone random dudes for some reason. I don't know why. But anyway, she gets kicked out of the house because she's like, I'm your kid. And they're like, we don't have any other kids. Our only kid is dead. So
right.
She leaves there. So she goes to like check up on her friends, and she finds out that her boyfriend is with the girl he was cheating on her with, but they've been together for like 3 years, and they're like the big it couple. But it's like a dark side version of them. So where like everybody in the house party that was before just like, kind of, drinking, eating some edibles and having fun. This time they're like smoking meth.
Yep.
and crack and stuff. I mean, it's like, it's very dark. Like everybody's just like graffitiing all over the walls. Like, again, it's like a bizarro world version of what's going on.
Right. The town has a curfew.
Right. Yeah. So like she ends up befriending the town weirdo. They literally called her Weirdo. Who doesn't know her either, but who doesn't have any other friends, so is willing to just like roll with it. Right.
Yes.
So, but she is then convinced because, she brings her back to her house, and then she's kind of like putting two and two together because she has a whole like, crazy string attached, collage on the wall of like the murder because in this, right. Yeah. In this universe, the Moon Knight killer didn't kill just 4 people before he died because no one was there to stop him. He's now killed like 30 people.
Right. He comes. They're like, oh, he appears like every couple of weeks and kills some.
Yeah, and basically everyone that he kills benefits the mayor in some way.
Right.
So like everybody that dies is like a person that owns a business in town, and then that business fails, and then they end up selling out to the mayor. So the mayor now owns like the whole town. So he's like essentially the ruler of the whole town, both politically and financially. But essentially he also like, I guess, has a supernatural power to like control these people's minds. They don't really go into that, but he does. At all. Yeah, they don't go into that power, but they literally have like blue eyes, like they listen to everything he says. It's very bizarre. Anyway, so she says, no, the killer is, the mayor, and the weirdo girl's like, oh, I don't think the killer's you, because she's like, oh, you just came out of nowhere and all this stuff. I think the killer's you. And then, of course, Moon Knight smashes through the window and is like, oh, I guess it's not you because, Moon Knight's killing us now. It's like, oh, okay. I guess just to clarify, it's not actually Moon Knight. I guess you probably know that. But he's dressed and looks exactly like Moon Knight. And they're trying to say like he's the angel. And I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean? But then I finally realized that like the angel they put at the top of like their town Christmas tree, I guess, is just like a white clothed blank face thing. And then that's what this killer is trying to look like, is that angel. But I don't know, he looks like Moon Knight, so I just call him Moon Knight. So anyway, so Moon Knight tries to kill them. They manage to escape. They go to the only business in town that is not owned by the mayor, which is the theater. And Weirdo Girl just happens to work at the theater, so she has the keys. So they watch some movies and they have a moment, and essentially she tells her the whole story about how, she wished on the Aurora Borealis, and then this came true. So then she, kind of puts together another collage, conspiracy theory wall of like all of the Aurora Borealis like wishes coming true and how they should do it. So eventually they figure out the only way to like make her wish come true is they need to kill the mayor again.
Right.
And that's going to like somehow reset everything and put her back in her world. So they're like, yeah, we need to kill the mayor again, but we need to recruit some help. So they go back to her parents' house to try to recruit them to help. So they go there and they convince the dad to let them in. She tries to convince the dad that the mayor is the killer, and that he killed her brother, and he's having none of it. So they go downstairs and try to convince the mom. The mom is like boning some random dude. So she's like drunk and out of it. But they basically do convince the aunt, who we find out that her wife was murdered by the Moon Knight.
Yeah.
And so that's why, that's why her wife isn't around. So they basically convince her, but like as they convince her, like Moon Knight breaks in and kills the mom and kills the random dude she was boning.
Yep.
And then so her, Weirdo, and the aunt then try to escape, but they manage to fight and knock out Moon Knight, and she takes off the mask, and it's not the mayor, it's her dad.
Yep.
And so at this point they figure out that, like, oh, since he was the number 2 to the mayor, oh, I guess the mayor must have mind controlled him after his son died, and that's why he's doing all the killings for him now.
Yeah.
I guess some kind of bizarre movie logic. So they decide to go into the theater, literally put a sign on the front of the theater saying that they're there.
We are here, David.
Right, yeah. Come in and get me. So they like put mannequins in the theater, and then of course her old boyfriend and the girl he was cheating on her with come in as the it couple, and they like trigger their trap, and it's like, oh no, it's not them, it's it's not the killer, it's just these guys. And they're like, oh, we're here for our anniversary, whatever. So the aunt comes in choking up blood, she got stabbed, the killer is there. So they're all there. The it couple gets murdered, kind of off screen, like in the dark. We hear them dying, but we don't see it happen. And then they're chasing him around. They see she stabs her dad with a broken broom handle on the stairs. He goes down dead. And then they're like, okay, well now everything should reset now. He's dead. So they go to the spot where she made the wish. She wishes for it all to go back, and it doesn't change. But like the aurora borealis now turns like red, like it's bad things are happening. I guess they don't really describe what it means. And then she hears the mayor is having his annual naughty or nice meeting with the town. So they go to this where they literally like saying, "Oh, you're naughty, you're nice," and then they're like, "I guess that's a death sentence if you're naughty." I don't quite understand, but yeah. So the mayor kills his own brother, who was the sheriff. Because he tried to transfer out of the town because he didn't like the way it was going, whatever. So he gets like strung up and crucified, murdered on stage, while everyone in the town is just like watching it with these glowing blue eyes and just clapping. And they're like trying to say, hey, get out of here. This, bad things are happening. You need to get out. And they're just like staring straight ahead. So they end up having like a confrontation. The mayor gets like pushed into the crowd. The crowd attacks him, but he survives. And then they end up stabbing him anyway. And then anyway, well, whatever. He dies. And then they, figure out that like, oh, I wasn't here to save me. I was here to save you, the weirdo girl, because she was apparently going to kill herself if nobody wanted to be her friend. So,
right.
Because they now are like in love and they, kiss or whatever, then everything goes back to normal. So she wakes up back at home, and it's like it's a cheesier, worse version of the ending of It's a Wonderful Life.
Hello, movie house.
Yeah, it's like It's a Wonderful Life. It's an earned ending, right? It's like a happy ending. This is just fucking. It's so saccharine it hurts my veins. Like I was like I was like in pain watching it. But anyway, so, she's all super happy, like her family's back together. They give her a new camera, which is somehow supposed to equal out to a brand new fucking truck. But sure, she's happy with it, I guess. So she then goes, oh, I got to go hang out with Weirdo because, she's the new love of my life and I have to go spend Christmas with her. So she goes to her house. There's like a millisecond of her trying to pretend like she doesn't remember. But, oh, no, she remembers everything too. We're in love. Ha ha ha. Movie over.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's it. So obviously this is the first time I'm watching it because it just came out. What did you think about it?
On the first thoughts, I know I try for new stuff. I try not to read anything before going into it. Right. Now things did pop up in my Google News. Like the only thing this movie has going for it is the parody of the movie title. It's Wonderful Knife. I thought this was easily trope-ish, to say the least. And it has new tropes, but they're still tropes nonetheless. And the fact that we were pretty much able to call everything when it was before it happened in this movie is that predictable.
Yeah. I will sum up my opinion of this movie in one word, and that is trash.
Trash.
It's just trash. It is just like holiday horror fucking filler garbage trash. I did not like it.
Yeah.
So you got any high points?
It had a high body count for a movie like this. I will say that.
Right.
It had a very high body count. And I guess kind of what's interesting and nice is that usually when there's like some sort of parallel universe or let's say time travel or something like that, is that usually, the protagonist goes back and stops everything bad from happening. So like, oh, her best friend would still be alive. Nope. She's still dead.
Yeah. Nope. And she does not give a shit either. Like, she
Correct.
is the happiest she can ever be, even though her friend is still dead.
Yes.
Because she found her new love, I guess.
I found that very interesting because, like I said, usually they will rectify all of it.
Well, in a cheesy ass movie like this, yes, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, there's always some loophole that my friend's still alive, but no,
right.
It's still dead.
Right.
And they acted like they were in a cheesy horror movie, so I don't think anyone took it seriously.
I don't think so.
I don't think this would have been
weekend.
I think it would have been worse if they tried to take this seriously.
I don't think you can. I mean,
no.
I'm sure there's a world where people try to, but I don't think it would have gotten out of pre-production right. Trying to make it serious.
Yeah. Those are my highlights.
I laughed when I saw the killer. I mean, I was like, what is this, fucking Moon Knight? Which is why I call him Moon Knight the whole time, because he looks just like Moon Knight. I'm like, what the hell were you thinking?
Yes.
Like, that's not a scary killer at all. But anyway, I like Joel McHale and Justin Long. I can't say they did a great job in this movie.
I
do like them generally.
I don't know his accent he was going for.
I don't know either. Again, I generally like them. They did a passable job in this movie, and I guess that's about as good as anybody did. So,
yes,
that I did appreciate, like, the premise. I mean, like, It's a Wonderful Life is like a very classic, Christmas movie, right?
Yeah.
Which is interesting. Do you know why it's so famous?
Because they played it. I remember the story. I don't remember the top of my head. It's something about the way it was played.
Well, essentially, the movie was a bomb when it came out.
Yeah.
It sucked. Well, this is according to critics. Critics called it crap. Nobody went and watched it. It was a bomb, right? So the rights to play that movie were extremely cheap.
Right.
So big network people, when they're looking for movies to play on Christmas, because again, they just like play movies all day. Nobody wants to like work or do any like real recording on Christmas back in those days. So they would just put a bunch of movies in a row. So you look for the cheapest movies that you can, right, and you just put them up. And that's why they did It's a Wonderful Life. That's why it was on every year for Christmas, is because it was so cheap, right, to put up there that everybody just did it. So because everybody kept seeing it on Christmas, they kept assuming, well, I guess it's a good classic movie because they keep showing it. And eventually people just believed it. And it became that. So that's how it became what it is. Not because of like the quality of the movie, but because it was that cheap to put on the air.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
Which is fun. But anyway, so I mean, it's a decent premise. I mean, it could have been done better. But the premise at least has some promise. I mean, maybe somebody else will come along and try to do something better with it. But
right,
so that was it. I'll just jump into my low points here. This movie is one of those movies that I really hate. And it's usually like the PG-13 kind of like kiddie versions of horror movies that do it, is like one stab is enough to instantly kill everyone.
Yes.
Like, and again, in real life, you hear about a stabbing. It's like, oh, stabbed 37 times, right? Because that's how long it takes to kill somebody by stabbing. With this, it's like you get stabbed once with a broken broom handle, you're immediately dead.
Yes.
Like literally within seconds, you are dead. Like, you get stabbed, you are dead immediately. Like, anybody gets stabbed in the back, they start spewing blood out of their mouth, and they're dead immediately. Like,
Yes.
it's not how it works, but a lot of these movies do this shit, and it drives me crazy. That ending, holy shit. I could not have been cringing harder with that ending. It was so bad. I was like, there's got to be some kind of twist to like bring this back around or something. Nope. There was nothing. It's just, again, it's so like saccharine, sugary in your veins that it will hurt you when you watch it, so you have to be careful if you actually do watch this film. And again, just how fucking cheesy this movie was. It was so fucking painful.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. It sucked. What do you got?
All right. I like Joel McHale. Don't get me wrong. I think he's great. Him trying to play a sincere dad with every line delivery he ever does is a condescending asshole. It does not work in this movie.
In this movie, no. I think he can do it, but not in this movie. You're absolutely correct.
You know, whatever accent that Justin Long was going for, I don't know what it was. No one else spoke like that in the town.
Yeah,
he was like Bronze. And he sounded like a little bit like Stewart for Mad TV, mixed in with his character from Jeepers Creepers.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck he was doing.
What? No. I'm like, what are you doing, Justin Long? Okay. So, you know, she makes out a very big deal that, you know, she knew it's the killer, and she mentioned too, when she went into this alternate timeline, you know, the mayor's brother became sheriff, talking about the height, right? I'm sorry, Joe McHale is at least 8 inches taller than Justin Long.
Right.
And you would know that if you're that gung ho knowing who it is, like, you would know how much taller this guy is.
Okay. To be fair, they were introduced to this new taller version of Moon Knight, watching her own mother being gutted and spewing blood out of her mouth. I don't think the height of the person stabbing her would have been the priority in her mind at that moment.
Yeah, how Justin Long character got this mind control that he don't mention it. Like, we were watching, like, wait, is he like mind controlling them? Yeah. How that happens? No idea.
Yeah, no, it's not explained in any way whatsoever. They kind of sort of explain that he has supernatural powers, that his dying spirit somehow like took over the Northern Lights. And that's why her wish happened, because he wanted it to happen. And then he has the power to like control people's minds, and that's it. That's all we get. We don't get any explanation as to why, if this is even really happening or not. But
yeah, and then he becomes a mayor of a town of like 30 people.
Right. Yeah.
What's the point? Like,
I don't know.
What does he get from all of that? And you know, it's become a trope where the quarterback football team is gay. That is the new horror trope at this point in time. If he's not flat out gay, he is hinted at and is secretly gay. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm saying it's an overused trope to the point where it's a trope at this point in time. Everyone does it. And that's weird to me. I'm saying not just because he's gay, but I'm just saying like it's like a trope that is everywhere now.
Well, I will say horror movies are usually the movies, because they're so plentiful and so quick and easy to make, that tropes are usually a result from horror movies and in some way or another. And I think, it's very easy for them to just repeat stuff. So to them, you know, whatever filmmaker goes like, oh, you know what would be an interesting twist? Hey, how about the, you know, dumb jock quarterback who's usually the bully is actually the gay kid, and he's really cool with everybody. Right? Like, yeah, okay. And then, like, every filmmaker had the same thought, and they just keep putting it into the same fucking, like, they just don't understand that everybody's doing the same thing.
Right.
And they just keep doing it.
And it's do we want to say this is, a woke movie? Like, the 2019 Black Christmas? In a way, yes.
Yeah, it tries to be. And it's
not subtle. If it was subtle and done correctly, it works perfectly fine. This is like beating it over your head.
Right. Yeah, considering like one family has like there's 5 members of the family and 3 of them are gay.
Yes.
Which,
and the other 2 are toxic.
Right. And like, okay, that's all right, but like I mean I going on percentages, I think that's a little high.
Yes. Yeah, and I think it's also now the trope that the weird girl is a lesbian.
Yeah, usually.
And like I said, it's just could have been like Tropes, the holiday horror special. Like I said, it's we don't have anything wrong with diversity and stuff like that, but it's just this is just like point to the point. Like I think it hurts any community that's trying to diversify with. You know what I mean? It's a bad factor of it. And when you have shit movies doing that, that's what you're going to think about. And I don't like that. You know what I mean? There's ways to do it well, and then there's this movie.
Huh.
And I'm sorry. I mean, if you were to pressure me off the top of my head, what was the guardian angel's name in It's Wonderful Life? I can barely remember it. There's no way an 18-year-old in 2023 is going to know Clarence is the name of the angel.
Well, okay. She also said his full name. We're
right.
Like, I'm George Bailey and you're Clarence. Like, there's no fucking way Gen Z knows the characters' names.
Not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. They know who the hell those people are.
But again, they also, didn't use the correct people in the correct positions. Like, they didn't follow the same plot line.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, Clarence was a completely different character who, wasn't really directly involved in any of it.
Yes.
He was just, an ancillary character that made it happen.
Right.
So, again, the whole thing was fucking... they didn't understand what they were fucking doing. And then she's like, oh, you weren't my Clarence, I was your Clarence. Like, what the fuck do you mean? You were the one that got transported to an alternate universe.
Right.
What are you talking about? Again, I think that whoever was fucking writing it was, high out of their mind at this point and just writing down whatever came to mind.
Maybe, that explains so much. They're like, haha, the twist is everyone is... gay, or it's the mayor's her dad. Oh, she's teleported to the new universe too, and therefore love triumphs over losing a friend.
Right? It's like what? Yeah, it's it's a fucking mess. It's a sloppy mess that I can't recommend to anybody.
Right, because the reason why she wished to not be there is because it's been a year and she's still grieving for her friend, and lo and behold, she saves. Everyone gets revenge. And she's fine. She says, I'm not grieving anymore. I have love.
Right. I'm sure everyone will be very happy to hear that.
Right. That's weird to me. Like I said, and I think they tried, I think they went for a high body count to nullify the fact this isn't a good story.
Well, it's not a good anything. I can't recommend any part of this movie.
Yeah. So those are my low.
Okay, so how many elves on the shelves out of 10 would you give It's a Wonderful Knife?
It's a great question. Would I watch this over Extras 2? Yes.
Well, yeah, that's not saying anything.
Would I watch this over Jack Frost? No.
Well, again, that's still not saying anything.
I'm going with 0.5. There was really the only redeeming qualities this movie would have had were useless. Like Justin Long and Joe McHale were just wrong. Like I felt like they were given a different script than everyone else. Let's make like an androgynous. Justin, can you do like an androgynous accent that could be somewhere between, Seattle and Maine?
Right. Seattle and Maine, and you're going to be a California guy in like a Colorado mountain town.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. How about you? What do you give it?
Yeah, I'll agree with you. 0.5. It's trash. It's a garbage movie.
But hey, at least we get one more for the worst of list.
Yeah.
For 2020.
Yeah, it was not good.
All right, why don't you bring us home?
All right. Join us next week as we are deemed either naughty or nice. Will we get that PS5 we always wanted, or just a bunch of coal? We foresee lots of drinking as we close the year out with more terrible movies, with a 2-part look into the Silent Night, Deadly Night franchise. How many are there? There's 6?
6.
Yeah. I have not seen any of them, so I'm sure this will be fun. I've heard the first one is okay, and the rest of them are trash, but
yep.
we will see. But anyway, Krampus save us as we hopefully survive these next 2 episodes in 6 movies. So remember, we watch bad movies so you don't have to.
And the Spinning Graveyard saying, have you checked on the children?
This is Salem saying, long live the new flesh.
Good night.
Good night.